Hey guys, welcome back. Today we have one of the better contenders for BRO. If you want to really compete in BRO Premium, this is one of the lists you really want to pay attention to. It is deck you really want to test against. Of course, it is Luard. Luard is a deck that uses Morfessa basically to swing huge, swing a lot of crits, and basically be able to grind your opponent out of the game since they're having to drop 2 to not take 2. So let's go ahead and get into the deck. It's a very standard build. Of course, you see I'm running the Vieira starter. Vieira starter is the best starter. Being able to get soul plus draw and a quick shield, always good. Of course, Dragfall is the grade 3 I chose to start with, and I really like it. Drag Driver is good. Getting the extra force marker is good. Having a column which swings 3 crit, or if you are able to ride 2, having a couple columns to swing 3 crit is very good. That plays more aggressive. I prefer the games that go a little bit longer, that you can keep recycling, and if you get to the point where you're running out of grade 1s, being able to have extra grade 1s to put back into the deck to refuel your Dagda cards. So this card I think is really good, as well as because it's able to fund the Ultimate Stride, so we can run Ultimate in this deck just for free, because I don't like relying on the overtrigger. So yeah, I prefer that. I prefer Dragfall, Drag Driver, and Drag Heart. The Vieira Drag Driver, I should say, very good as well. So the grade 2s, we have 4 copies of Morian Spirit Dragon. This card is insanely good for your grade 2 game, being able to Soul Blast to discard a card to draw a card. If it is a grade 1, you get 10k, means you could play very aggressive, as well as you can keep your opponent on grade 2 so you can keep the first stride. That's very important because we're playing basically a non-grade 3 if we're going first, so being able to play the grade 2 game is very strong. 3 copies of Dagda. Dagda is very good on your stride turns because being able to call an extra column, very good. Thins your deck, compresses your triggers, then once you get a stand from compressing your deck so much, via your Dragfall, via your Dagda, and all your other skills, you can just flip a stand, and the stand is to get an extra attack, which means you're now getting 5 attacks on your Morfessa, which is significantly stronger than 3. This card is insanely good, and it fuels the ability to really kill our opponent with Morfessa. And then for the grade 2 game help, we are playing Leofail. Now this card's very good because it forms a column for free basically. When you call it down, you can call a Char and Soul Blast. Then you have a good 21k column, which into force numbers is very good. So with the Morian Spirit, it is playing an insanely good grade 2 game. I didn't want to play very more because I wanted to have a lot of options in the grade 1 slot. And this looks like a low grade 2 count, but I assure you it does work out very well. So we play 4 grade 3s and 9 grade 2s. That means we have a lot of grade 1s to go over. So first we start with the PG, Esris. I prefer Esris over the Draw PG just because the ability to shuffle Esris's back into the deck so you can call it out with your Dagda is very important. As well as Esris being a ritual, so if you want to call it with Luard, say you had to use an Esris earlier, you don't have an extra one, you want to get an Esris on the field, calling this lets you retire a card with your Dragfall skill. So I think that's all very good, as well as the fact that you can go back into your hand and constantly have PGs available to you for all of these hard matchups. I really like it. 4 copies in the main. Let's move it over there. The main is still very insane. Just from the fact it can call your Abyssal Owl, it can call the Vicro, which can help make Morfessa's cost free, as well as with Jelly Dough, it can just flood the board, be able to use Jelly Dough, and then get them into the graveyard, draw a card, basically for free. Just for calling it down, you can get up to 3 cards on the field, which is very good. This card is insane. 4 copies of the Dark Blue Espada Dragon. I don't know why I call it Dark Espada Dragon. Too many Dark Dragons in this game, but again, this card is great for fueling your ritual account, which is why Morian is good. I forgot to mention that. But being able to also get a free draw sometimes is also very good. But yeah, it serves as a great aggression card because milling a grade 1 does give it 10k, so it could be an 18k booster or attacker. And as well, getting the ritual acceleration is very strong. More Dark. I didn't play this originally, but like testing it out recently, I definitely put it in the deck, made a few cuts, and this is why I'm really happy with this list and want to bring it to you. 2 copies of Charm. Again, it's very good because you're able to Soul Blast to get the counter charges, so your Leofail is free, maybe your Luard call is free. A lot of these cards that can generate, what's his name? The Raven Eye is free. Once you get the call off, you can maybe get a counter charge off of it. Very good. Makes your Dagda free. Makes a lot of the stuff that in a deck that can't really have access to extreme amounts of counter charging really useful. This card is very good. 2 Abyssal Owls because having draw power from your domains is very strong. You can call a domain, get the counter blast off the Abyssal Owl, draw a card, or a Slaughter Blast if you don't see like a Morian to kind of keep digging your deck. That's why we can get away with playing kind of a low amount of grade 3s because we draw and filter so much that the cards kind of just float into our hand after a while. 2 copies of Bramwin. Now this card is getting improved because of Heal Guardians, so if you're playing against a matchup that wants to get really aggressive on you, you can get the Heal Guardians into your hand. Fortunately, USPS is going to be tier 0 for this event. My Heal Guardians aren't in yet, but I still wanted to bring this list to you. Bramwin, very good. The idea of playing more Bramwin with less grade 3s I think is a little flawed. I got this from Solom, and it kind of works out because you are hitting less. So, I mean, if you hit it, that's great, but you don't want to play 4 in your deck to just whiff on. So, it is good because of the 13k. It's very important. Not more Fessa, but yeah, that's very strong. And then 1 copy of Honolulu because against these decks that go uber wide or they want to swing at you 20 times like Victor, just calling this down can be a death sentence because a lot of times they're not able to just kill off the card if their clan doesn't have full access to that at all times. And like again, it could just be a game changer for you. So that's a grade 1 lineup. I really like this grade 1 lineup. My ratios feel really solid. All the cards feel really good in their positions, and I really enjoy it. Onto the grade 0s, so we've got 1 copy of the Vicro. Again, you could call this with the main, which can give you access to a free counter charge, namely with like Morfessa or with Esros, it can give you access to free counter charging and extra soul, which can be important if you're like spamming the Morians, you're going to lack a soul. So getting this in can get you a counter charge, get you an extra counter blast for the Charn or another skill you need to. So on to the grade 0s, this will be 4 copies of the Heal Guardian, which I will hopefully get before the event if I decide to play this, but yeah, Heal Guardians are insanely good in this deck. Being able to play an extremely good grade 2 game, being safe on grade 3 if your opponent decides to ride up, as well as being able to give yourself damage if your opponent denies you. Super good. I think Heal Guardians are slotted in every single deck, and that's what these should be, but, you know, USPS. On to our other triggers, we have 4 copies of the Stride Crit. Again, we are playing a 4 grade 3 deck. Going first Stride might not always have access to a Stride, so being able to have the extra crits in your deck, I mean, it's access to the Luard skill. So having these crits in your deck does give you access to that Stride going first. 4 copies of Belial Owl. So with Heal Guardians, I thought maybe I could play a little greedier, and I kind of like it. Being able to play the 4 Belial Owls to get a lot of draws off, as well as get triggers back into your deck, which has the same idea as your Cursed Eye Ravens, being able to put triggers back into your deck, means you're checking a lot of triggers the later you get. So late game, you're basically always checking triggers, because if you keep drawing the Cursed Eye Ravens, use their skills, put them back into the deck, and you're getting stands and crits and stands and crits non-stop, because Esros, as well as Luard, can fund the skills to put grade 1s back into your deck to make sure you always have calls for Dagda. So, very good, because if you're almost always guaranteeing crits and Dagda calls, you can call one and get that power from the triggers you're going to check, as well as standing the Dagda can be very good for hitting over triggers as well, and as well as late. That is very good. So I do like this, as well as the dream of them working together where you stand this and call 2 and retire 2 with Morfessa to draw 2 and draw 4 off the Belial skill. Very good. But yeah, overall the recycling is very good, as well as being able to keep your deck really compressed. Awesome. On to our G-Zone. No surprise here, we got 3 copies of the Morfessa. This card is very insane. Just the ability, 15k in a crit means you can play long. Your opponent will get starved out of resources eventually, as long as you're playing well, keeping your hand at a good size, not just, you know, calling out, being really stupid. But the ability to kind of watch someone to draw to can deck you out if you're not being a little bit too brazen with it, so be careful. But overall, this card's power level is insane. It's one of the best cards in the Luard for a reason. It's one of the build-around cards for the Ritual 10. That's why we're playing the Moraine and the Blue Espada to kind of like get us there, maybe turn 3 or turn 4 and at the absolute latest. So if we're struggling with our CB, we want to play the Dragfalling Luard, and I prefer this over the Spectral Duke, playing an extra copy of this, the Spectral Blaster Duke, whatever his name is. Because if our opponent's playing smart, say we're at 2, they don't give us an extra damage, we have 2 face down, this is the perfect try to go into, because it's skill, but you don't need a counter blast for its skill even late, so the access to the ritual account will not affect you when you are going like into GB3. You don't need a counter blast to activate that skill, so you can swing huge columns at them. And I think this is very good, as well as like late game. I think it is better than Morfessa because you're swinging so much bigger, and you have the Cursed Eye Raven standing like, you know, 45k cards. Very good. I still play 2 of the Phantom Blaster Diablo versus some matchups that like to clear their board. This card is instant death, as well as like getting the Luard skill off. Like they have 2 rear guards, getting the Luard skill off, retiring 1. Then this is just suddenly they can't do anything about it now. They can't guard. They're eating 2 to the face, maybe 3, 4. If you like had enough Belial Owls and you have enough compression, yeah, still very good. And if you happen to run into Geese, well, this is how you deal with it. 1 Agma because it's very pretty flip-up fodder, and then 1 copy of Ultima. Now, Ultima is a weird spot in this deck because if you have perfect setup, you want to go into Morfessa, it is better. It's not going to lose you the game if it doesn't kill somehow. But I like Ultima because if you don't have the perfect setup for Morfessa, if you can go into Ultima and get the calls down, now you can have access to a more powerful turn early that kind of fixes your deck for you, fixes your setup. So I really like that about Ultima. I prefer it over the Overtrigger, mainly because Ultima does come down and end the game a lot sooner than not, and it's a guaranteed end, not kind of relying on hopefully I don't draw it, hopefully I hit it. But the randomness of the Overtrigger is kind of what draws me away from it and pulls me into Ultima. G-Guards. Jellydo. Now, with the main, just calling cards out for free. This card gets so much value from being able to call up those 10Ks. Getting like a 35k shield plus a draw is super good. Fuels your ritual count. This card's awesome. We play 2 copies of the Plot Maker because having access to our 25k shield at all times is very, very good. As well as having no condition and no flip up means this card can be called down twice and then called with Jellydo to guard those extremely big attacks. 1 copy of the Dark Veil because it can be a huge G-Guard shield if you're going later in the game, and that's pretty much good enough. And then 1 copy of the Bronok because ritual count is very important. Sometimes this card can be a little troll by not hitting a grade 1, and you're stuck there with a 15k shield. But a lot of times this does hit 1 to 2, so it is good for your ritual count and it is good for guarding, so I do like it after all that said and done. So guys, thanks so much for watching. Again, if you are looking forward to playing a BRO, be on the lookout for Luard. If you want to test against it, go ahead and hop into the remote fight server. I'm sure there's a lot of people playing it, but I wanted to bring to you guys a deck profile for BRO, something that you guys can get ready to play against, because I think the event is going to be very, very fun, and it's going to be a lot of interesting decks there, and this is just one of them. Probably not going to play this list. I'm probably going to play Battle Sisters after all, but I still think it is a good thing to get out. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and see you in the next one.